Container gardening is really popular again this year, and we have lots and lots of different containers to choose from. One of the things you need to consider right away is the scale of the space you're working in, because one mistake people make is they choose really little tiny containers, then they take them outside and they put them in a space where they kind of get lost. The neat thing about the big containers is that they can actually be focal points, almost like furniture. They can be very subtle in color. You can choose many containers that are of different sizes in the same color family, and then you can group them together, which is a really good way for you to take something that might be small, put it with a couple of things that are slightly different sizes, and really make an impact. You also need to figure out whether the container itself is the thing you want people to focus on, or is it the combinations of plants in those containers. And if you choose containers that are fairly neutral in their tones, they're sort of understated and quiet, you can get away with just an amazing amount of plant material in those containers. One of the things to keep in mind about larger containers is whether or not you're going to need to move them during the growing season, because once you add soil, they can be really heavy. This is an interesting new one that looks like it's terracotta with kind of a apricot finish, and it's a little bit more traditional design, but as you can see, it's pretty lightweight. It's something called fiber clay, and that gives you the option to actually have a little bit more portability in a larger container. The same thing holds true for some of the traditional terracotta pots that are actually not fired clay. They're fiberglass or a plastic. Another thing that's available in a whole family of shapes and different sizes and finishes is containers that are more metallic. And these range in size from very large ones to very small ones, a subtle bronze sheen, a darker black sheen. And again, by mixing and matching a number of sizes and slightly different shapes, this still acts as a family of containers and allows you to really create a good grouping in the landscape before you choose your plants for the combinations in them. If you don't have room for large containers, or you're interested in containers that are actually interesting all by themselves, you might want to look at these smaller ones. They're very portable. They're in wonderful new citrus colors. Some of them have patterns. Again, you can choose from a family of very bright colors, and they're extremely portable. They could be on an end table. They could be on a dining table outside. You can mix and match pretty readily. The one thing to keep in mind is because the colors of the containers are so bright, you're going to have to be a little more careful about the plant materials you choose. For example, if you do something that's got a lot of green and then you pick up on one of the colors in the container, it's sort of a really bright statement to have the plant material actually blend with the colors of the container. Containers are really personal preference, but keep in mind that you need to think about the scale first, both of the space and of the containers you're going to use in that space. Think about grouping a family of containers of similar materials, different sizes, and slightly different shapes. Decide whether the container is what is the thing you want to be dominant, or whether the plant materials in that container are supposed to take center stage. And if you decide that you want the plants to be the thing that is the most beautiful and the most wonderful, you have all sorts of plants to choose from. In later segments, we're going to be showing you some of the combinations that you might be able to use in your particular situation in your containers.